Hi, and welcome to the PIERS Association Podcast. We're interviewing Blake Johnson with Johnson and Livingston. They're based in Utah County, but can serve clients all over the state of Utah.
Anywhere in Utah.
Personal injury. So you guys have got a pretty strong reputation for not being shy and taking care of your clients.
Yeah, we tend to think of ourselves as more aggressive. We're not afraid to litigate and go to court. That's one of the big reasons that my partner Todd Livingston and I started. Is we were at a firm before that had more of a settlement mentality, and not worried about making sure the providers are getting paid and the clients are getting fair compensation. And so we've kind of cultivated that reputation that even if we're off by $500 from a deal with the insurance companies, that's a situation where we'll say, no, we'll file suit and now you're going to pay more. So,
and learn a lesson.
That's the goal. We got to teach these insurance companies that they need to treat people fairly. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about this, because I'm sure people have misconceptions about the legal process and having a suit when they've been injured. But let's talk a little bit about that process. So they're injured and they need care. And then what?
Yeah. So, I mean, the number one priority and our number one priority at our firm is to make sure that they are getting taken care of, that their injuries, whatever injuries that they didn't cause, someone put them on them because they were negligent, that they're addressing those injuries. And the first thing is, number one, finding out what they are. And then number two, making sure they're getting the proper treatment so that they can hopefully make a full recovery from a physical standpoint. If they're not going to, we want to stretch that as far as we can to make sure that they're in the best position possible, as close as to what they were prior to the injury. But then where we step in is we want them to focus on their treatment, listen to their providers, and follow their treatment programs. And then our job is to take over the rest. We want to take off all the other burden off their shoulders so they can focus on their treatment and their body and getting better. So for us, it's a big aspect of that is collecting the evidence and making sure, because we kind of have the mindset of we prepare cases as if we're going to be in litigation or go to trial from the outset. That changes our approach as well. We will front load that work to make sure we're getting everything. This is probably carryover from years ago. Before I went to law school, I was a private investigator. So,
well, that's handy now.
It is very handy. So I kind of know where the evidence is, and it's like I know how to go get it. So we've adopted that. Make sure that we collect everything up front. That puts us in the power position when we start negotiating with the insurance companies. And if they're not fair, if we're not seeing fair offers based on their condition and issues, we have no hesitation in taking it to the next step. And that would just be filing the lawsuit. And because a lot of that work is front loaded, that makes litigation and the litigation and trial preparation process a whole lot easier.
So your firm has a reputation for getting really big verdicts for your clients. However, before people get excited and think, oh, they're going to go to Disney World and buy a new house and all of those types of things, let's talk about why people need big verdicts.
Well, this goes to kind of what is a jury verdict. I mean, a jury verdict is a group of your regular citizens in the community coming in and placing a value on something. And so, personal injury gets a bad rap. We're called ambulance chasers. People kind of think it's all about the money and the greed. No, what it is our system is designed that if someone's injured, the only way we can compensate them for their pain, their suffering, their medical bills, the only way we can do that is with money. So the trick, or at least goal, when it comes to trial is to get the jury to understand what those injuries are like. And that's where, you bring up big verdicts, but every one of those verdicts resulted from my client who was dealing with those injuries. And some of those main things are, they might recover pretty well. And we've had a number of cases that have gone to a jury verdict where we've gotten significantly higher than what you'd normally see. But the reason why is because it's our job to tell our client's story. and to get the jury to understand what they're dealing with. And when you're dealing with even smaller, what they consider smaller or soft tissue injuries, if they don't fully resolve, these can be permanent injuries that, number one, are going to affect our client to some degree every single day. That little bit of pain, even if it's on a 1 or 2 out of 10 scale, and it just kind of bugs them, that still, when you kind of extrapolate that over a lifetime, that's a lot of pain that they're going to experience. The other thing that we really focus on is not only what pain are they dealing with, but when you're dealing with an injury that's compromised ligaments or the soft tissue, and it is going to be a permanent injury, it is going to accelerate the wear and tear on them, and they're going to continue to have additional problems, potentially disc problems, disc injuries, just based on the fact that that area of the body is already compromised. So we do focus very heavily at trial on those aspects to really paint the picture that our clients, they've got injuries that they can manage through the day, maybe with some ibuprofen or stretches or whatnot. But at the end of the day, they've got to do something every single day for likely the rest of their life. And that's worth something. And that's all we're asking a jury to do is say, what's that worth?
That's a lot of stress, too.
It is. I mean, an aspect that's often overlooked is the emotional toll that this takes on people. But, when you wake up, and those are the details that we want to know from our clients and know, how's this affecting other areas of your life? Because if you go to work, and you can go to work, but you're there at a desk and you're looking at a computer screen and your neck is stiff and you're stretching it and maybe popping it and rubbing it, you're going to come home in a different mood than if you didn't have those injuries and you weren't dealing with that. And so that's one thing we do is in order to paint that picture, we not just talk with our clients, we talk with all the people around them, their friends or family, those that see them on a regular basis, because they shed tons of light on how it's actually affecting them. And it's very common. I'll have a client tell me, no, it's fine. I just, have to stretch or, take some ibuprofen at work. Then we talk to the wife and she's like, he comes home and I know when he's had a bad day because he comes home and he's irritable. He can't handle loud noises. He'll have that headache. I mean, it really does affect people. And the thing about our clients themselves is most of them are fighters. They want to get past this. They don't want to deal with it. So they don't dwell on the negative. So when we talk to them, we don't get the full picture. We got to talk to others about it.
So do you think it is reflective of their relationships, challenges that they have afterwards?
100%. I mean, when you're dealing with, and of course it varies. There's severe injuries that are debilitating. That's going to affect a relationship differently. But even the minor injuries causing that irritation, you just become more irritable, or you're not feeling as good. That's a big one that we focus on as well. You come home and that soreness has set in and they just don't feel as good. So now the question is, how's it affecting maybe their relationship with their kids? Do they go to the park anymore? Mm-hmm. We talk to kids at times, or the wife will tell us, the routine was they'd go to the park and they'd go play on the playground. He doesn't do that anymore. And it's like, well, why not? Well, he's in pain. Those are the little things. I like to think of it this way. They say it's the little things that in life, right, that bring happiness. Well, it can be the little nagging chronic injuries that take that happiness away too.
I've actually experienced that as a parent after a car accident. And I had no idea until my middle school age son said, "Mom, you don't smile anymore." And that broke my heart. But he was right. I was in constant pain still.
That's a devastating.
It made a difference, but it really woke me up.
I mean, and that, don't you take that emotionally too?
Oh, Yes, bad mom flashes in front
Right.
of your
I mean, comes with the guilt. I mean, wanting to do better, but then being trapped in that situation of, I want to do more, but I just don't feel good. Like I got to try and take care of myself. Yeah.
Yeah, which brings up, you've mentioned the term soft tissue damage a couple of times. So I know the other side likes to play that down. Oh, it's just soft tissue damage. Well, so's a heart attack. But do you want to talk a little bit about some of those soft tissue injuries that you see in a car accident?
Yeah, I think one of the ones that we've probably had the most, success with is it's an injury that, we work with chiropractors, we work with physical therapists, and in a lot of ways, we're students of our craft and what we're doing. And so I love picking their brain. I love learning about different injuries, treatment modalities, things like that. And one of the, years ago, one of the injuries that was brought to my attention is something called alteration of motion segment integrity.
What?
Yes, exactly. It's a mouthful.
A mouthful.
So then they shorten it by saying AOMSI.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, much better. But here's what it is. It's damage to the ligaments. Generally, you'll see it in the spine, and it's damage to the ligaments where they've been stretched out too far, and now your spine isn't lining up correctly.
Oh, my word.
And it doesn't have the level of support that it should. And because of that, now your muscles come in and try and compensate for the damaged tissue.
Tense.
And they're constantly tense. So if you've got AOMSI in your neck, as you go through your day, those muscles continue to be contracted, and it's going to put tension that causes tension headaches, causes a lot of pain. I like to use the example at trial where I say, look, if I was holding a gallon milk jug out here, I can hold that for a while, but after a minute, I'm going to start to feel it's going to be discomfort. It's burning. You make me hold that milk jug out there for 5 minutes, this is going to be burning and aching, and I'm going to be sitting there going, let me put this down. I want my muscles.
I'm going to say words.
Yes. So that's a very common injury. And the thing about AOMSI is that the American Medical Association their diagnostic procedure for it is off of an x-ray. It's off of flexion and extension x-rays. Mm-hmm. So it's an objective injury. And that's one thing that the insurance companies, they love soft tissue because generally there's not objective findings, right? These injuries don't show up on an x-ray or an MRI. But that injury, you can diagnose it off of an x-ray and it's objective, so they can't really fight against it.
What would help you with a case to see in chiropractic notes and documentation?
Yeah, I think some of the most helpful things are, when the chiropractor asks them about how it's affecting their daily activities. I've seen that a number of times. That's very helpful because not only does that kind of give us a leg up or a jump start on painting our client's picture as to what they're going through, but the other thing I really like about it is it shows that the chiropractor is taking an interest and cares for the patient. That is very good because when I discuss this with insurance adjusters, I can go directly to the notes and they already know, and there's kind of a subtle signal being sent to them that we have a claimant who's making a claim for, against us, the insurance company, but we have an attorney who has taken a special interest or personal interest in their client, and they have treating providers who also have done so, who want to listen to them and hear what they have to say. That matters and it carries weight because when they get that kind of picture, they say, we're not going to get out of this easy and cheap. They're not just going to run this through as quickly as possible. So it does change the shape and kind of the tone of the negotiations. I would say the other thing is just documentation of any of the tests. I'm not medically trained. I'm not a chiropractor, but all those, I'm trying to remember what they call them, but the tests where you're testing, There's a name for it. It's slipping my mind. But, testing rotation and doing that.
Range of motion and
range
things
of
like
motion
that.
tests. There's a number of, I think they call them orthopedic tests.
Yes.
Those are having the data and the documentation on that. That also is phenomenal because if that testing is done periodically through the course of treatment, you're actually tracking and seeing in real time on the chart notes that they're improving, or if there's an area that's not improving, then something else is going on there. So I think just being thorough and documenting the results of those tests is very important as well.
So that's into the course of treatment. I probably jumped ahead because what should a chiropractic physician have in mind during that initial consultation that would be helpful to the case?
I think describing the nature of the injuries, as they go through that initial examination and consultation with one of their patients, they're going to start to hear a description of the injury. Is it a sharp shooting pain? Is it a dull ache? That's a good indication, as there might be a disc issue that's, hitting a nerve, doing something like that. I'm trying to think of another example early on. I just had it in my mind and it flew away. It'll come back to me.
Text me later.
Yeah, I'll text you later.
I'll put it in the FAQ on the website.
We'll put that in the notes at the bottom with a little asterisk. This is what he forgot. Yep.
Well, your work is so complex and every case is different. And like they're discussing in the conference today, it's a car accident with 4 individuals, all different demographics, all injured in different ways in the same car, in the same accident. So there's a lot to remember.
There is. And I think, the number one thing would be documentation on that because, and then what I love, again, being a student of the craft and understanding, I love it when chiropractors will educate me. I always want to learn more because whether it be what treatments they're suggesting or how their treatment plan progresses and what it's addressing, that's super helpful to understand. That gives us the power to negotiate when an insurance company wants to say, no, we think 6 visits was all you needed here. We can go if we've got that education, and then we can say, no, you can see why there was lingering issues here. So the documentation is paramount when it comes to that. But if you're finding, if it's a chiropractor listening, if you've got an attorney that's not willing to learn, not willing to listen and take an interest in what you're doing and how you're doing your work to get these people recovered, find a different attorney. Find someone who cares enough about what you're doing and cares about their client enough that they're willing to do that. Because that's going to be the best result for everybody involved.
And they would find that with your firm.
Test us out. We, like I said, we love learning. I'm fascinated by. I love getting surprised where it's like I've always heard this term or I've heard about this treatment, and then when someone takes the time to educate me and say, no, let me tell you what's going on here. I love learning new things, and then it makes me a better advocate for my client because I understand what they're going through and why.
Well, we are delighted you're involved with the PIERS Association. It feels like our values are in alignment. I love using chiropractic terminology and talking about PI.
I love it. No, we're excited. This sounds like a fantastic organization. We're excited to get going and work together.
Excellent. Us too. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you, Roxy. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for joining us on the PIERS Association Podcast today.